So I've been involved in this for quite a while, and I think it's time to step aside and let other people take over.
You referenced being a George McGovern delegate in 1972. Some people compare Bernie Sanders to McGovern, although on the other hand, a lot has changed in the country over the past 48 years. I'm curious if you could comment on any similarities and differences you see between Sanders and McGovern.
I'm obvious. Well, I don't know if it's obvious, but I'm a Biden. I caucus for Biden, and I'm supporting Joe Biden. When I get into serious discussions with people that are apoplectic about Bernie for a whole host of reasons, I hearken back to when I was 20 and a delegate to the 72 convention for McGovern, and the party elders were badgering me, how could you support him and he can't win, and on, and I continued to support him. I was very idealistic. He was against the war in Vietnam. I was against the war in Vietnam. So he was the perfect presidential candidate for me at the time. So I understand why so many young people are gravitating to Bernie. But I also fear that we will have the same fate that we had with McGovern, where he will not only lose the election, but he'll take a lot of Democrats down with him that are currently serving in office or are going to be running. Now, that is just pure speculation, but it's my belief from 40 years of public service. I've don't know whether Bernie's candidacy would be ultimately good for the Democratic Party. And I served with Bernie in Congress. I know him very well.
To follow up on that, Dave Wasserman of the Cook Political Report offered the more contrarian view that Bernie Sanders wouldn't negatively impact Democrats down ballot for a couple reasons. People might expect Trump to win and vote for Democrats down ballot as a check on him, in inverse of some of 2016's results, and also because House Democrats have a significant fundraising edge over their counterparts. What are your thoughts on that?
That's certainly a point of view. I don't share it. I think this could have a negative effect on down ballot candidates, and I could name at least one in the state of Nevada who is in a 50-50 district, and she's a freshman congresswoman. I think that everything that Bernie has said in the past or done in the past will come back to haunt her, because they're gonna, I would imagine that she would be asked, are you a socialist? Do you believe in Medicare for all? Do you think that there should be free college? For all of his positions and the comments he made about Fidel Castro at the time, and the fact that he honeymooned in Russia. None of these things are particularly offensive to me as a human being. However, as a politician, I know how the opposition can use these things and turn it into something very ugly. Now, if this current congresswoman has to defend those positions, then she's going to lose all the independents and the Republicans that may not like Trump, if there are any left, may not like Trump, but will not vote for Bernie. And if she's got to defend Bernie's position as the person at the top of the ticket, I think it's going to hurt her. Now, on the other hand, if she distances herself from Bernie, she's going to lose a number of Democratic supporters who are the more progressive in her congressional district. So I think candidates like the woman that is now serving in the 3rd congressional district in Nevada, I think that this is could have devastating consequences on her. Now, if she's an outstanding congresswoman, she's a great freshman, she takes care of business at home, but when you're doing geopolitics, every little nuance comes back to haunt you. So I'm concerned about that, and not only in the Nevada congressional district, but throughout the country, where you had a lot of moderates elected in 2018 as a response to Trump. Can they hold their seats in 2020 with Bernie at the top of the ticket? I think Biden's a safer bet. But again, as I said from the beginning, I was a McGovern delegate in 72. I understand the appeal and why people particularly young people, would be gravitating to Bernie. I understand it. I did it. I was it.
I have a couple more questions. On the issue of party unity, it's very likely that Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders will be the nominee this year, in which case we will have a candidate who is not fully trusted by significant factions of the party. And I wondered what your thoughts were on what they can and should do to unify the party once nominated. And second, in the event a Democrat wins this year, what do you think the most important priorities should be in moving on and rebuilding from the Trump era? And do you think that significant change can happen even if the Republican Party holds the Senate?
Well, that is a good question. Number one, your first question. I was very critical of the 6 million Democrats that voted in 2012 that sat home in 2016. I was absolutely certain that Hillary Clinton was going to win. And I remember election night sitting on the couch of my home, and I had a whole plan of what I was doing election night. And we were waiting for the Nevada polls to close and the early returns to start coming in. Then my goddaughter was running for judge in Nevada, so I was going to stop by her campaign celebration, then head over to the background checks celebration, because background checks for guns won in Nevada, and I was on their board. So I was going to go there and then end up at the big Democratic Party at the Aria Hotel in Las Vegas to celebrate the Clinton victory. Well, I never got off the couch. When the returns came in, I was absolutely flabbergasted. And then when they did the postmortem, there were, again, as I started saying, or as I said at the beginning, 6 million Democrats that voted in 2012 did not vote in 2016. Well, if you don't vote, this is what happens. And so I would encourage all Democrats to vote if, in fact, our goal is to make Donald Trump a one-term president. That's the only way you do it. You don't do it, you can talk, you can protest, you can do anything you want. If you don't show up at the polls and vote, that's how our American system works. So if you don't show up and vote, I don't want to hear your protests, and I don't want to see you demonstrating, and I don't want to hear you talking. You've got to. That's how we make change in this country. So I'm very adamant about that. What the priority of the next Democratic president will be, I think, is to restore faith in our Constitution and ensure that the three branches of government are doing what they were originally expected to do. They are co-equal branches of government, each one having a responsibility. And I think those lines have been dissolved. I am appalled at the Republican Congress. These so-called big shots are just a bunch of wimps that I don't understand what they're scared of. Afraid they're going to get a mean tweet from Donald Trump. I mean, that they don't have the courage of their convictions and the strength of authority that they actually do their jobs, what they're constitutionally mandated to do. Apparently, they're more afraid of a tweet than they are of doing their job. So they are shameful. I'm embarrassed about them. And so I would like the next president of the United States to restore some normalcy to this country and get us back in balance. I think that's very important for the future of our democracy. And I recognize there are issues and there are problems and there are inequalities and inequities in our country that need to be addressed, but I don't think another revolution is going to take care of that problem.
Following up on that, you were talking about them being scared of mean tweets And I would also imagine they're scared of primary challenges.
Let me mention something, and I would say this to any of them. I was in office for 30 years. I never dreamed I would want to do anything else but be in office. But there's life after politics, and I think I'm the perfect example of that. I am the CEO and senior provost of 2 universities, one in Northern California and one in Nevada, and I split my time. Life is good after politics, and they shouldn't be so worried about compromising their own ethics and responsibilities just because they're afraid to lose their job. There's other things to do in life.
With regards to restoring the Constitution or restoring normalcy, I'm curious how that gets done post-Trump, given that the rest of the Republican Party will still be there. And even before Trump, we saw them block Merrick Garland. We saw them engage in extortion over the debt ceiling and over the fiscal cliff.
Absolutely. And things were changing in the 14 years that I served. Quite a difference in attitudes and working together for the good of the American people. But I would say the two priorities, I mean, if the Democrats could get control of the Senate, that would be very helpful. But if not, the 2 priorities to get rid of, and they're both up, would be Mitch McConnell, who I think is just a disgrace, shame on this man, and Lindsey Graham, who I think is the most despicable person. I served with Lindsey in Congress. I didn't like him much then. And then he went to the Senate and he became this great statesman along with John McCain and Joe Lieberman. And I kept thinking, well, maybe I misjudged this man. No, I didn't misjudge him. I mean, this man will do or say anything to stay in office. And frankly, as an American citizen, I don't want somebody that desperate to be a senator to be representing me. So in addition to possibly, hopefully replacing Donald Trump, I think it would be a very good idea for the Democrats to concentrate on these Senate seats, and I believe that's exactly what they're going to do.
Congresswoman Berkley, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today at UC3P. We appreciate learning from your experiences and from your perspective as a former Congresswoman.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
And that's a wrap on another episode of UC3P. Credits go to Sowmya Karun for producing, Arjun Motta for engineering, Andrew Weis for interviewing, and me, David Raban, for editing. Special thanks to Eden Bernstein and the Jewish Law Students Association for bringing Congresswoman Berkley to the University of Chicago. We really appreciate their help, and we can't wait to work with them again soon. Our assistant production managers are Arjun Motta, Olu Ogidan, Sowmya Karun, and Suo Wu. Our communications director is Thomas Krasnation. Our finance director is Donovan Harvey. Our publisher is Yaning Wong. Our intro music is Knockout 2 by The 2B, and our outro music is Yes Yes Y'all by Matt Large. Our cover art was designed by Shirin Raban. If you want to hear more podcasts, check out our website, uc3p.org. And if you want to contact us, our email is theuc3p@gmail.com. And if you haven't already, please remember to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. My name is David Raban, and stay tuned. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a very special episode on jazz music with composer and performer Martin Joseph.
And I'll tell you something else that shocks me. I know that you wanted to, even somebody like Tom Cruise, who was this big-time, big-shot senator. I mean, Trump. What did I say? Not Tom Cruise. No, I like Tom Cruise. Ted Cruz. That's funny. What must be on my mind right now? I don't know. Ted Cruz here Donald Trump insulted his wife and accused his father of being part of the assassination attempt of JFK. And Ted Cruz has wrapped his arms around Donald Trump. If my husband did that after Donald Trump said things like that about me, I'd have to kill my husband. I mean, that is absolutely shameful.